Okay, so we're back from travels, and today I'm gonna continue reading this book called Strange Pictures. I'm going on to chapter 2. I think I was reading it on the train previously and I managed to finish chapter 1. But before I begin, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what I will be doing. I think I realized that I have been able to articulate a lot better from the first day when I was speaking. I probably tended to ramble a lot. Like I would slur my speeches more, but now it is getting better. And one thing that I learned is that actually you need to open your jaw bigger because English language is one of the languages that requires a big, like you need to be more conscious about your lip movement as well as making your jaw big so that you can articulate the words better. So I will be trying that. And for a fun segment, I wanted to talk about one thing that I bought. So that as you can see over here, I got this Chagi bottle from Hangzhou. Like as you can see over here, it says Zhejiang, and the design is actually quite pretty. There's a bird and there's a lot of flowers and leaves, and it's all shaped in like it's in a light blue color. So I thought it was very pretty, and I decided to get it. And I realized that they have different Chaji bottles for different regions. So in Zhejiang, it was this blue. There's a darker blue color in Shanghai, but it's a little bit more expensive. It's like 149 renminbi, which is converts to about 30 26 SGD. So, but I thought I would get it as a souvenir because I think Hangzhou remains as a very nice and memorable place in my heart. So I think it was a very worthy buy, and I'm quite happy using the bottle. And yes, okay, with that, I'm starting the timer. Okay, we'll go on for 15 minutes a day. The timer starts now, and let's go. Yuta Kono. Yuta Kono's father, Haruto, died during the winter 3 years ago. Yuta was only 3 years old at that time, so he didn't really understand what had happened. He hadn't cried or been sad. But the sight of his mama, always so quiet and gentle, totally overcame with grief made him feel that something very bad must have happened. It filled him with anxiety and fear. Now, Yuta was almost 6. The few hazy memories he had of his father were fading away bit by bit. But one memory remained clear. It was 3 summers ago, just a few months before his father's death. His father had taken Yuta to the cemetery to pray. It was just a 10-minute walk from home. Yuta, wearing a white straw hat under the brilliant blue sky, listened as his father spoke in his kind voice. But try as he might, Yuta could never remember what he said. All he could hear in his mind was a thunderous chorus of the cicadas. Naomi Kono. Naomi Kono was in a sour mood as she prepared dinner. She peeled a thick scallion and chopped it finely, but the whole time her attention was directed at the next room. The living room was quiet. Yuta was probably sprawled on the sofa, on the verge of tears. She put the frying pan on the stove and added oil. In went the scallions, and she began stir-frying. Her head spun with thoughts. I was too hard on him. But it's an important lesson. But surely there must have been another way to say it. But there are things you can't teach with kind words. The scallion softened and a sweet aroma filled the air. Grabbing some mince from the fridge, she added it to the pan. Yuta liked to draw. When he was very little, he would sit and happily draw squiggly lines for hours. But now he had graduated onto people, animals, and vehicles. He could draw proper pictures. He had even started using tools to help. Right now, his favorite was a stencil ruler. It was a large plastic ruler with holes in it of different shapes: circles, triangles, stars. Even a small child could draw perfect shapes by tracing the inside of those holes with a pen or pencil. And it seemed to be so much fun. Which was fine, of course. He was welcome to draw all he wanted, provided it was on his drawing paper. But on the linoleum, in permanent marker, and this wasn't the first time either. Earlier, he had drawn on the bathroom wall, and before that, it was the pillar in the living room. She had scrubbed and scrubbed, but they had only faded a little, not disappeared. Children are filled with infinite curiosity. Drawing on things is an important means of self expression. It is silly to scold them for it. She had read that in a child rearing article once. The author was clearly a homeowner. I wonder if they'd say the same thing if they were a renter. Naomi had muttered bitterly to herself. When she saw that the meat had browned, she took a block of tofu and cut it into cubes in her hand. Those two went in. A great sizzling came from the pan. She opened the box of mapo tofu mix, took out a packet of mao paste, and added it as well. Naomi liked spicy food. When she was younger, she hadn't even considered food without spice worthy of human consumption. But becoming a mother had opened her eyes to the pleasures of milder, sweeter sauces. Just as the maple tofu started bubbling in earnest, the rice maker played its song, indicating the rice was ready. Naomi gave a sign and forced a smile, trying to change her mood. She headed to the living room. Utah dear, dinner's ready. From wherever he sat, Utah eyed Naomi cautiously, trying to read her expression. Was Mama feeling better or still angry? I did the same when I was a child and my parents got angry at me. Naomi intentionally made her voice gentler as she said, Mama's not mad anymore. Come on, let's eat. She smiled. Okay, I'll eat. The tension in Utah's expression eased a little. After dinner was over and Utah was bathed and put to bed, Naomi washed the dishes, folded the laundry, and was finally able to rest. It was 11 o'clock. The day's exhaustion washed over her as she sunk into the sofa. I'm not so young anymore. Can I really raise this boy on my own? She wasn't making enough from her part-time job to save any money. The apartment was one of the cheapest in the city, but she still struggled to make rent every month. School, exams, job hunting. How would she find the money for all the stages of life ahead of Utah? Could she keep him safe that whole time? It felt like she was running a marathon with no finish line. And it wasn't only the future that scared her. There was something else weighing on her mind lately. Someone is following me. She first had the feeling 2 days earlier in the evening on the way home after she had finished work and picked up Utah from nursery school. She had suddenly sensed someone watching them from behind. But when she turned around, no one was there. It must have been her imagination. But the next day, she once again felt the unsettling presence of someone behind them on the way home. Then today, she finally confirmed her suspicions. They had stopped by a convenience store on the way home to do some shopping. When they stepped out, a compact car in front of the shop caught her eye. It stood out to her. It wasn't a model she had seen around the neighborhood. When they resumed walking again, the car began to slowly move, trailing them. Her nerves tightened. The car kept moving, maintaining a fixed distance behind them. The driver was clearly acting oddly. Should they run away? Should they stop? Turn around? Every option she considered had its dangers, so instead she just gripped Utah's hand tightly and kept walking. Soon, their apartment building came into view. Come on, Utah, let's hurry. Naomi pulled Utah by the hand and quickened her pace. They burst into the building's entrance, and just after they had, the car sped up and drove past. It confirmed her worst fears. Oh, if only Haruto was still here. Naomi muttered to herself, staring at the family Buddhist altar in one corner of the room. It was a vain wish, but one she couldn't help making every evening. Utah's father, Haruto, smiled from the framed picture on the altar. Naomi slowly lifted herself from the sofa. She took the small bowl of maple tofu from its place of offering on the altar, covered it in plastic wrap, and put it away in the fridge. That would be her breakfast. She went back to the living room, offered a brief prayer before the picture, then finally headed for bed. Utah was deeply asleep in his own futon laid out beside hers. He was probably exhausted from all his crying. Utah was looking more and more like Haruto lately. She wanted him to grow up like Haruto had, as well, With that prayer in her heart, she slipped into her futon. Listen, I shop here all the time, alright? So if you can't offer me any better customer service than that, then maybe I'll just take my business elsewhere. Do you hear me? The old woman had been spouting similar threats for a good 5 minutes. She appeared dissatisfied with the way Naomi had bagged the groceries and was haranguing her about it. I think you need to go back and learn how to treat customers again. From the start. Let me see your name tag. Kono, is it? I'll make sure to let your boss know about this. Oh, you have just put me in the worst mood. After spitting out a final complaint, she walked away, still emanating rage. Naomi saw her off, standing in a deep bow. She sneaked a glance at the clock on her register. It was already past 6 when she should have clocked out. She punched her time card, quickly changed out of her uniform, and rushed out of the shop. Utah's nursery school would look after the children until 7 in the evening. But even so, nearly all the children were picked up soon after 6. Anyone staying later ended up waiting for their parents alone with the teacher. Naomi had seen that lonely side more times than she cared to. She desperately wanted to spare Utah any more loneliness. Son of a single parent as he was, that thought drove Naomi as she ran through the streets. She arrived just before 6:15. When she stepped through the nursery gate, a high-pitched voice exclaimed, "Oh, it's Utah's mama!" A girl in braids and a large bearded man came walking towards the gate. It was a classmate of Utah's, Miu Yonezawa, and her father. Miu was a particularly good friend of Utah's. Naomi crouched a little and said, "Hello, Miu," with a smile, and she straightened up to greet the girl's father. "Good evening, Mr. Yonezawa." "And a good evening to you, Mrs. Kono." "Or another hard day for both of us, I suppose." "Yes, same as always." "Of course. Next month, we're planning a little barbecue at the house. We would love to have you and Utah over to play. We will have more beef than we can eat. The best Yonezawa beef, you know." "Pardon?" "Oh, that's a little joke. You know how there's a beef called Yonezawa? And since our name is Yonezawa, well, anyways, any beef we buy becomes Yonezawa beef. Just a little joke." "Daddy, you're bombing," Miu chimed unhappily. Her perfect timing sent Naomi into pearls of laughter. "There I go again. Miu, you're such a harsh critic." Daddy Yonezawa smiled, if a little embarrassed, and then walked off happily hand in hand with his daughter. Naomi stared after them, her heart warmed. Mrs. Yonezawa was currently in the hospital with cancer. At the end of the month, so she'll be returning home for hospice care. Every family had a cross to bear, it seemed. Even in difficult times, everyone is staying so positive. I have to try hard too. Naomi felt buoyed up somehow. Inside, Utah and his group's teacher, Miho Haruoka, were working on a jigsaw puzzle together. Naomi saw that, once again, he was the last child to be picked up. "Utah, I'm sorry I'm late," she said. Utah glanced up, then looked back down at the puzzle. "Wait a minute, Mama, I'm not done with the puzzle." The curt tone didn't suit her child's voice. He had stopped running to her with a glad mama when he was around 4.5. He seemed he had already decided it was uncool to appear too clingy to his mama in public. It was a little sad for Naomi, but perhaps it was better that way for boys. Miss Haruka chided Utah as he stared at the puzzle, then said, "Utah, there's something I want to talk to Mama about. Can you wait here alone for a minute?" Naomi's heart skipped a beat. Had something happened? Utah looked displeased, but Miss Haruka placated him, saying, "Show me that finished puzzle when I get back, alright? I'm looking forward to it." It must have worked, because Utah nodded and attacked the puzzle with newfound determination. Miss Haruoka guided Naomi to the staff room. "I'm sorry to bother you when I know you must be tired. Please, have a seat," she said. "Thank you." Naomi sank into a folding chair as Miss Haruka brought another one over and sat next to her. "Has anything changed recently with Utah at home?" "Changed? What do you mean?" "For example, has he started watching any scary TV programs or anything?" "Scary TV? No, he's not watching anything like that." "Has something happened?" "Just a moment." Miss Haruoka stood and walked over to collect something from the staff table. This afternoon we had drawing time in class. Mother's Day is coming soon, and we decided to have the children draw pictures of the mother as presents. So well, it's about the picture Yuta drew. Naomi gave the drawing Miss Haruka handed her. The two people drawn on the right were clearly Yuta and Naomi. In the middle was the apartment building where they lived. He had done a good job recreating the number of floors and rooms, and he even positioned the entrance correctly. It was much too small compared to the people, of course, but what caught her eye was the top of the picture. The room in the center of the top floor was covered over with a large grey scribble. That was the room where he and Naomi lived. Miss Haruka, did Yuta make this grey blotch himself? Yuta loved drawing. When he made one he liked, he would sit and stare at it happily until bedtime. Naomi thought it was adorable and privately called it his self-esteem time. For Yuta to defile his own work was unimaginable, so perhaps a child in a nearby seat had played a prank on him. She didn't want to cast suspicion on Yuta's classmates, but her mind made the leap. Haruka had anticipated this. Well, there are some children who mess with others' work during drawings or craft time. They tend not to mean anything by it, but it can hurt the target's feeling. So we teachers make it a point to keep close watch and ensure that everyone is focusing on their own work to keep things like that from happening. I can say with some confidence that today, no one played any pranks with Yuta's drawings. I see. I'm sorry to say that I was not able to watch closely enough to keep track of every step of every child's drawing. I didn't notice this until the drawing was finished, so I didn't know exactly what was going on when Yuta made the grey smudge. I'm sorry about that. There's no need to apologize. And okay with that? Shit, I got lower and lower. But with that, the timer is up. I think that's all the reading that I'll be doing for today. And yes, that's all for today. I'll check what day is it later, but it's been a good reading today. I like the way I'm articulating more. I know I sped up a little nearing the end because the story got more exciting, but I think that's it for today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next day of 15 minutes of reading. I need to learn how to talk and articulate better, especially with my mouth like this in front. And if someone out there is enjoying this video, let me know how I can do it better, so that I can share my speaking journey more with the rest of the world.